Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Second City podcast. It's wonderful to be back after a couple of weeks away. My name is Daniel Sketchley.
And I'm Callum.
Yeah, as I say, thank you so much for joining us. We got a lot to catch up on, a lot of games, a lot of transfers. West Brom have become the worst team in the world overnight, so we're going to talk about all that as well. Um, I went to Hillsborough last night. That was fun. Uh, Caleb had a bit of a meltdown in the WhatsApp group after the Everton game the other day.
I don't think I had a meltdown in the WhatsApp group.
No, you didn't. I think no, it's but yeah, it
I,
wasn't what you'd hoped.
uh, no, it wasn't, but we'll come on to that.
Yeah, we will. First of all, though, Cal, how are you? Have you been? You keeping well?
Very good, thank you. Very good, thank you. Yeah, it's the new year seems to be dragging, but Christmas feels so long
It
ago.
does, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm waiting for January to end. It just seems never ending, and nothing good ever happens in January, Dan.
No, no. Although Blues are picking up a little bit, that's been a good thing in January this year. It is absolutely. We're recording this on Wednesday evening. It is absolutely. I don't know what it's like by you. It's absolutely hammering down here. It's windy. It's
Oh yeah,
rainy.
same. Tipping it
Very.
down all day, hasn't stopped.
Yeah, I got lucky. I went for a run yesterday, and I was like, I'm going to go either yesterday or today. Obviously, yesterday morning, I was thinking that, and I picked the right one because it was lovely yesterday, and today it has not stopped all day. Um, but anyway, shall we get into this episode? It's been a few weeks since we did an episode, as I said. Gonna have a bit of a general summary of kind of Blues and Villa and what's been going on, transfers, as I said, and then we'll talk a little bit about the other Midlands clubs, West Brom in particular, after what happened last night. We got a friend of the pod, James, who's a West Brom fan, gave us a little rundown as well. And stay tuned for what he described as, quote, easily the worst performance he'd ever seen. So that's something to look forward to. Um,
I'm trying to rack my brain, but don't think I've seen enough of West Brom
I can't think of them.
to say what's the worst I've ever.
They've never
I don't
been
know. They were
this.
bad under Pardew. Some of their performances under Pardew when the year they went down,
Yeah, it's one thing getting
was quite
smacked
bad.
7-0 by Liverpool, and then, well, I don't know if they had any results like that, but 5-0 Norwich at home. Ooh.
Relegation threat at Norwich, yeah, it's a bad one.
Yeah. So actually, before we actually get going, though, Cal, know what we're wearing this week. I don't think really. Kind of for the moment, we need to source some new shirts. But I did just want to say some very sad news, actually. Kind of mainly in the Blues family, but a little bit of both, and definitely appropriate for this podcast. Don't know if you heard, Cal, that Robert Hopkins passed away relatively recently, the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
So he was obviously played for. He actually started his career at Villa. Played a few times for Villa in the 80s, and then predominantly played for Blues in the over two spells in the 80s and early 90s. I think to like a generation, he was like an iconic Blues player. Obviously, he's before our time, but yeah, passed away in a bit kind of very surprising and very sad news. So yeah, obviously as we are kind of a West Midlands football podcast, and he was a big part of West Midlands football of that era, and followed Blues still after he retired. So yeah, we just wanted to say rest in peace and thoughts and best wishes with his family. And I thought to mention it really because I actually met him about 15 years ago, I want to say, and I know that because I have proof. So I have here the Birmingham City, not holding that up very well. Birmingham City, the complete record, which was a book they released about I think it was about 2011. It must be that because the record only it has in the back like all the kind of the final league tables and the results and fixtures and so on. And the last season it has is 09-10. So the year before we won the Carling Cup. So it must have been around then it was released. And I have the proof because I've
talk about a
actually
terrible year to publish that book. If they'd
yeah,
have just
true.
held out a year.
That's true, actually, yeah. But he was at they launched the book and did a sort of a signing in the club store of Birmingham City, the complete record, and he was one of the people signing it. So for those watching, you can just see his signature just at the bottom there. To Daniel, best wishes from Robert Hopkins, and the one at the top is Joe Gallagher, who played for Blues centre back in the 70s. Yeah, so I got one for myself, and I think I got one for my uncle as well, and he signed that one as well. Um, so yeah, lovely memory, a lovely keepsake, and yeah, our thoughts and best wishes with his family. So yeah, rest in peace, Robert. Shall we get into the meat and potatoes?
Yes,
Do you want to
let's
start
do
with?
it. Shall we? I was going to say let's start with Blues because you did an away day last night,
Yes.
and I feel like because it's quite rare that we do away days. I know you do a few more than me, but that's what it's all about. So I think
Yeah.
you should start.
Yeah, happily.
So you went to Hillsborough. I've never been to Hillsborough. That's high on the list that I'd love to do.
Exactly. I was going to
Is it
ask.
still £40 an away ticket?
Well, not quite. It was 30. Oh gosh, it was in the 30s, so it was expensive. Yeah, I
Deal.
haven't. I don't go to too many for what I mean. I'm on the bronze. I'm a bronze member, so it's a little difficult to get tickets. And then it is expensive away days and around work and so on. But when you go and it's good, it's really worth it. But before we get started, we'd like to not thank our non-sponsor this week, which is actually Big Parking, and this is related to Sheffield Wednesday because I texted all you guys about this. So, like, we're going to Sheffield Wednesday away. Went with my cousin and I went with my mate. I was driving, was picking George, my mate, up from work, so I thought it can be a long drive, and you gotta like you don't want it to be tight for time. Let's get parking sorted in advance. So I pre-booked through the club website. I'm just going on a rant here. I pre-booked parking through the club website, through an external provider, and so on. Big parking. Booked to park in the Hillsborough College campus. 10 quid. Pre-booked it. I was like, right, that's sorted. 10 minutes from the ground. We haven't got to worry about parking. We get there, we queue for about 10 minutes to get into the car park, and then we get to the car park, we say, we got a booking, and they say, sorry, we're full, can't let you in. We didn't know about it. We didn't know we've just been letting anyone in. We didn't know we haven't reserved spaces. So yeah, nice one. So I had a choice phone call this morning with Big Parking about that to get a refund. So we had to find somewhere else to park, missed the first 10 minutes of the game. Nice one, lads. Thanks for that. Um, so that's just my mini rant. So yeah, you guys can do one. But
Do they just give you your 10 quid refund or do they give you some compensation on top?
no, they said they'd give me a refund, but I don't know. I have nothing. I'm sorry, no one cares about this. I was just very pissed off
Mm.
about it in the moment. Yeah, nice one, lads. Just it's like when planes overbook and stuff. They know exactly what they're doing. So yeah, I had a bit of a choice phone call today. So big
You don't
park.
have a lot
Don't
of
use
luck
them,
with
guys.
parking at your away days, Dan. You had a nightmare at Watford once. You got
Oh
very
yeah.
lucky in Bolton last year.
Oh no, Bolton was the opposite. Bolton was brilliant. Bolton we just parked right by the stadium and we're like, we might come back with a ticket, but we didn't. And that was good because we lost 3-1. So that was a positive that day. Um, so no, yeah, Cal, if you do ever go to Hillsborough, or if anyone goes to Hillsborough, don't use that site. Terrible. Uh, yeah, very annoying. But rest of the trip was pretty great, I must say. So a bit of backstory on Blues. The last one of these we did was Watford was the last game we played, um, which was a disaster. We're terrible on New Year's Day, and then we had a great result against Coventry at home just a few days later. We were brilliant, beat them 3-2 against the league leaders. Really good game. We haven't actually lost since. We beat Cambridge away, sorry, in the FA Cup. I know it was only 3-2, wasn't the most convincing. Kyogo finally got another goal though, so that was really like a cup goal against the League Two team. So it wasn't quite the goal yet, the one we'd all been waiting for. But it was a huge improvement. For him, it was something at least, a well taken finish. Got a draw against Swansea, then not great in the first half at all, but did show some character in the second half. And then Patrick Roberts pops up with a really important goal to just get something on the road. Our away form is terrible. After that game, we'd only scored 9 goals away all season, which is terrible. We haven't won away since mid-October. It was our first point away since West Brom away in, I want to say, mid-November. Oh no, maybe the end of November. I think it was mid-November. Sorry, late November. Um, so that was a kind of kept momentum going just a little bit. So to go up to Sheffield Wednesday last night was a bit. I would still say it was a must win. If you're gonna win an away game and stop the rot, going to a team on -7 points that haven't won a home game all season is kind of
Playing all the
essential.
kids.
Yeah, literally. I mean, they've got Barry Bannon and then just a bunch of kids otherwise, really. Jan Valery plays, and they got some names you'd like recognise, like Nathan Redmond's in the squad. He didn't get on the pitch, uh, but yeah. So I'd never been to Hillsborough either, and was a ground I wanted to go to, one of the famous grounds in this country. I think it's very fair to say, and it's a beautiful stadium, very old and like yeah, a bit rough
Proper.
around the edges and run a little bit battered and bruised, but yeah, proper. I think you'd love it actually. Feels very. We had a great view actually. Like apart from it's kind of the sort of what's the
The
word?
stanchions.
The stanchions, yeah, do block your view a bit, but no, it's got that sort of it feels imposing. I would imagine that stadium when it's full. on a big night is pretty special. Obviously, that is not the situation for Sheffield Wednesday this season. I think it was about 20,000 last night. So their stands were like half empty basically. And that's not a dig at them. You know, they've been through an awful lot and they're going to go through a period of suffering now, I think. But they'll be back one day. They're a big club and a good football club. So they'll be back eventually. Not a great first half at all. Um, I mean, I saw most of it, and what I saw was I can't comment on the first 8 or 9 minutes, but the rest of it was pretty uninspiring on both teams. Nothing much to shout about. And then second half, we actually had a lot more pressure. I thought we put a lot more pressure on them. Not without our scares. I think Wednesday hit the post at one point. We were just really struggling to move the ball up the pitch. I really felt like there's no real plan. Some of Beadle's goal kicks were just going nowhere. Um, but late on, 83rd minute, Marvin Duksch turned in a stance. It was a shot by Stansfield, which looked to me like it was going wide, well wide, and Duksch just turned it in, and that was massive. That was a huge goal that was going to put us on a. That would have a 1-0 win would have been um like a a relief and a monkey off the back. I know it's against the team that are going down and are effectively a League One team. In terms of their playing staff, they're probably a lower League One team.
Yeah, if that really, isn't it?
Yeah, but it would have been an away win in the Championship. Um, so that was a huge relief. But the real story of last night was what happened in the 94th minute, which was the Kyogo goal, right at the death. I was never concerned Wednesday were going to get back into it.
D Does it count in
Does it?
terms of being in terms of being like the big Kyogo moment? If it's against -7 points Sheffield Wednesday, in the same way like you said the cup goal against Cambridge didn't really count.
If you were there, you'd know it counted. It counted. Trust me. It was, and I got in. I drove back and then got in and watched the highlights, and it looked how it felt in that stand. You know, it was carnage. We were in the upper tier, but you could see the lower tier on the highlights. And a side note, I wish on these highlights, when the limbs are crazy,
They just pan out.
why does the director always cut to the a closer? But I know you want to see the players celebrating, but that was like stay on the what? Like no, stay on that. Let's see that. I don't get why they do it. They're all it's clearly something they're trained to do. Um, but yeah, it was proper. Trust me, and like the defenders tried to play the ball back to the keeper. Kyogo's nipped in, just taking it around the keeper, and with his, I think it was left foot. It must have been with his left foot. He's just put it into the inside of the netting, and I saw him get the ball, and I've seen so many times this season Kyogo in a one-on-one or a chance he should score, and he'll miss, and I've had that moment of like this is it, and it's not happened. Um, but I literally saw him get the ball, and I turned to my mate, and I was like, oh my God, I think this is it. Like I heard myself out loud say, this is it. And it was carnage. It was wonderful, and it made the trip. It turned a good result into a great moment. That was a great moment, and that'll be. It's only the 21st of January, but I think by the end of 2026, that will be one of my favorite goals. It was being there for it was great. It reminded me a lot of the Jukovic's goal against Barnsley last year, which was the sixth in a 6-2 win. But in terms of what it meant, and you could tell it meant so much to everyone. So yeah, great, nice stadium. Uh, you know, a good win. You needed it, and too early to say if we've turned a corner, but very encouraging. And we'll talk a bit more about signings and stuff in a moment. But now we're in a position where we're unbeaten in a few games. Yeah, one was against Cambridge, one was against a team on -7. But now we're in a position where our next few games now are we're 13th in the league. I think we're at the time of recording. There's a few more games tonight, so this will probably change overnight. But we're 5 points off playoffs. And our next few games are Stoke at home on Saturday, who are a good team, good defensively, but we're at home. We don't lose many games at all at home. Oxford away, who are second bottom. Leicester at home, who I think are beneath us in the table still. And then West Brom at home. They're our next four games. West Brom are 19th. I do not see any reason why we couldn't win all four of those games, realistically. Um, I'm not saying we should, but I don't see why we couldn't. Or 10 points from 12 out of them. And if we do that, we're back. We could be right back in it, like well back in it. And it's mad how
But you're
things
only
change.
like 5 points off the playoffs anyway
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
moment.
Yeah, yeah,
But you've never really been that far out of touch of it all season.
yeah,
Just you're still 13th in the league in the same way maybe when we spoke about this before Christmas, when you're about 14th, you were still about 6 or 7 points off the playoffs. So it's
yeah. I think
but it's
maybe
all doom and gloom and but like your position wise hasn't changed. Maybe the outlook has.
yeah, and but mate, you know, you've always talked about how Blues are going to need a run in the second half of the season to catch up.
Yeah.
Maybe this is it where we have to take advantage of. Maybe I wouldn't be shocked if the away form doesn't really improve that much between now and the end of the season. But maybe this is our chance now to where we've played three teams that are lower down in Swansea, Sheffield Wednesday, and Oxford away. If they're amongst the few away games you do get points in, let's make it count and let's have that run
Yeah.
now. If you know what I mean. So I could be. We could play Stoke and lose on Saturday, or we could lose away at Oxford. The one I'm most confident about is the Baggies game. If I'm absolutely honest. Then we got Leeds after that. We got Leeds in the cup at home in the fourth round. At home, I would fancy us against anyone. Honestly, I really would. So we're really not out of this yet. I feel like there's been a bit of, understandably, I wouldn't say pessimism, but a bit of realism maybe with where we are in the league and where we're going. But we're not out of this yet, and we've been getting some good signings in. I think in January, so it's encouraging. I don't know what you think from the outside looking in. If you think it's realistic, or if I'm being overly positive about it.
No, I don't think my position on Blues has really changed since before Christmas. I think you'll be in the mix by the end of it. I don't think you're good enough to come up now, or if you did manage to get in the playoffs and come up, because it's a bit of a lottery if you do get in the playoffs, the squad is nowhere near good enough to be at the Premier League. It would need another overhaul for the
Yeah.
third summer in a row almost. Um, but I think you'll be there. Not to quote Steve Bruce, but you'll be
Hallelujah, say
there or
that.
thereabouts.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're only 5 points off, and in the Championship you can see over the course of a 5 game period you can either propel yourself well up the table or you can fly down it as well. It's
Yeah.
so, but your home form is strong. And if you can keep you, I would imagine that will stay the same. You've just got to. It's hard to say if this is a turning point for the away form because again, it's Sheffield Wednesday on -7 points, and then you're going to go away to Oxford, who are second bottom, and Oxford aren't a big club; they're a small club. It was a miracle they stayed up in the league last year because everyone had them as like dead certs to finish bottom. So you're right; these are the games you've got to win away from home, but the litmus test is against some of the teams that you'll be fighting for those playoff spots with, or those mid-table teams that are also looking up the table as well. Because it's so, as always, it's incredibly tight in the championship.
Yeah, and it's important to remember as well that so Dutch scored in the 83rd minute last night. Before that, it was a frustrated, not angry, but like a frustrated crowd. We've seen this all before, you know. So it's mad what a couple of goals, and especially the Kyogo goal, which was such a like romantic moment on his birthday as well, I forgot to say. And you could see how much it meant to him and the team all coming together at the end. It's easy for that to like cloud your judgment of things a bit, I think, and kind of the situation we were in before that. But like I say, maybe we've just got to make this run count now, where the fixtures are maybe on paper a little more favourable, and that's not dismissing the challenge of some of these teams because they're Stoke, especially, I think, are a good team and could well get playoffs.
Mark Robbins is still there, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he is. And they
You
got
know,
they're
top
not.
manager at this level.
Yeah, they started really well and they've slipped up a little bit, but their defense is still really good. They've got a really good defense. But should we talk a little bit about some of the business Blues have done and why? And we'll get onto Villa's business in a bit as well in your section talking about Villa. Um, I think the business has been really. Not necessarily in terms of who we've got in, but in terms of the urgency of the business. You know, Tom Wagner in particular has been talking about how he's on about no, we're top six this year. You know, we want to go up this year. They are still showing that there's things that they're clearly not been haven't quite worked in the first half of the season, and now they're doing everything they can to do something about it. They obviously have not given up on this season, I don't think. And that includes players that have gone out. So let's start with a couple of the players that have gone. So before January had even started, I think it was December 30th, they announced Dion Sanderson had completed a permanent move to Derby, to John Eustace's Derby. Obviously, he was already on loan there. Obviously, I think a lot of people forget he was even contracted with us still. So he's gone now. Bit of a shame that's all fell apart, you know. Obviously, he was Blues captain as recently as 2.5 years ago. So that's a shame, but probably a best move for all parties. Emil
I mean,
Hansen
he
has
gets to
moved.
play under Big John Eustace again. I mean, the
Yeah,
two of them are like inseparable.
yeah. I think he's signed him like 4 times or something now, including as an assistant coach. Emil Hansen's gone to Excelsior, so he's gone. Was never my favourite player. Was a bit of a League One player, but that's fair enough. Not terrible. I wish him luck. In summary, bit of a negative summary there, but um, Keshi Anderson has gone to Portsmouth. He was actually released mutually agreed.
Was he out of contract in the summer?
I think he, I think
It's the only reason that I could think you'd let him go on a free, basically.
I think he was a bit of a shame. He's not had his best season. He was great in League One last year. He struggled a little bit this year. I think it's. I wonder if he just wanted to go, wasn't happy with the game time, and Blues, as we'll get onto, have since got someone in.
And Portsmouth desperately need quality additions because they're in real trouble.
Yeah, but I wish him the best as well. He's been for someone we had on trial basically, and then brought him in on a free in 2023. He's been terrific for us. I got a lot of time for him, and I wish him a lot of luck. So that, yeah, Kish Anderson, thanks for all the hard work and his goal against Huddersfield last year. Oh, beautiful. Obviously, Lyndon Dykes has gone to Charlton. Not a surprise. I think we knew that was coming for a while. He's obviously got the World Cup coming up if all goes well, and he's picked, which it looks like he will be with Scotland. Obviously, he kind of probably wanted to go to play more. Good signing for Charlton. I really think that. A few other clubs are rumoured to be in for him, like Leicester I saw were linked with him. But good signing, and I think I can't blame him for going because he obviously wants to be fresh and get minutes in and improve his form before the World Cup to give him the best chance of going and performing well there. I wish him all the best. I think he was never prolific at Blues, but he scored massive goals, and I think he people really warmed to him as well. Like I think he had his critics, especially last season, but he gave us some great memories, like the Swansea last minute winner, the Blackburn last minute winner this season, the obviously the Bradford goal last year in the 88th minute to send us to Wembley was amazing, iconic. So what he had his limitations, but he also had his uses, and there are things of his game that we would miss if they weren't being replaced by someone else, which we'll get onto.
Doesn't it just feel right though? Nathan Jones and Lyndon Dykes. It is a dynamic duo that all feels right in the world. It just seems like a good fit.
It does, and he got an assist I think on his debut as well, or maybe his second game. Have you seen what squad number he's picked as well?
I have not, no.
Take a guess. What squad number do you think Lyndon Dykes has picked?
Well, I'm going to assume it's not the number nine.
Close.
Does it start with a six?
It starts with a 9.
Uh, enlighten me.
No,
96, 95,
99. I
99.
don't know why he's picked 99. Weird. But anyway. But no, I wish him all the best. He's been good for Blues, and he's only 18 months, but he's been good for us, and I wish him the best, and I wish him luck at the World Cup as well. Um, and then the other one, and my point about us kind of being a bit ruthless is Erin Cashin, who we had on loan from Brighton, was recalled by Brighton and sent back out to Blackburn. He had a bit of a tough time at Blues, improved a bit as it went on, but his first couple of games kind of just set him right back straight away. He didn't exactly start well at Blackburn either. Scored an own goal 3 minutes into his debut, which wasn't great, and it was a proper striker's finish as well. So I do feel a bit sorry for Cashin. So that's who we've moved on, but we've been productive getting players in as well. So we signed Kai Wagner early doors, who's a left back known as the Assist King at Philadelphia Union. So he's a German player, but he's come from the MLS. And if you're nicknamed the Assist King, the best way to let yourself be known is to get an assist in the first, 6 minutes of your debut. That's exactly what I did against Cov. Scored then against Cambridge. Was caught napping a bit for Swansea's goal, which Vopotnik eventually scored. That was his first blip, really. But I think he looks a promising player. He kind of gets up a lot more in a way that Cochrane maybe doesn't, which helps us out when you've kind of now not got Laird at right back and we've got Iwata. I think Wagner gives us something else on that left side. So that's very productive. And then we got a few other lads in. So a couple of loans. John Solis, who made his debut last night, he's a loan from Girona. Meant to be like a good interceptor and a good carrier of the football, a bit more of a defensive midfielder, and brings a bit more physicality, can maybe break up the play a bit more, and then supply kind of more creative players like Tommy Doyle. He's not really a prolific goal scorer. He's played over 100 games in his career, and he's only ever scored one goal. But I don't think that's going to be his game. He's played over 50 times in La Liga for Girona. As I say, only 21 on loan till the end of the season. Gives us something different to kind of Peck and Doyle, and maybe in away games, tougher away games. I wouldn't be surprised if we go to a midfield three from now on. That might be the case. Another one we got in, and maybe Wakeshi Anderson left. Ibrahim Osman is a loan from Brighton. He's a left winger, previously on loan at Feyenoord, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Auxerre in League One, in League 1, I should say, not League One, League 1. Um, so yeah, kind of a bit more of a powerful left winger, also only 21. So it's interesting that we're going younger with the age bracket from here. Um, And yeah, he couldn't play last night, or he didn't anyway. Wasn't in the squad. I'm sure we'll see him against Stoke. And I actually wouldn't be shocked if he starts, actually, because with him coming in, I also wouldn't be surprised if Kumas is now recalled by Liverpool as well. Um, on a side note, I felt slightly bad for singling Kumas out in our end of year review because I don't think he's alone in kind of struggling for form. I think I can't knock his work ethic or his work rate or anything. But I think if maybe if he gets loaned out to a lower championship club or maybe even a League One club, I think that could do him the world of good, and he can actually find some form and then work his way back up. I think he's just struggled at Blues, and it's not been a great fit. Everyone's entitled to do what they want to do. I personally didn't agree. There was some slightly ironic cheering when he went off last night, subbed off. I personally don't. That's not for me. I'm not saying other people can't. That's not for me though. I don't think that's. He's our player. I wouldn't. He's a 19-year-old kid giving it what he's got. Everyone's got a right to criticize him because he's not been great by any means. But I think he'll leave, and I hope he kind of works it out and is able to find his way back up the leagues and improve a bit and have a better run at it next time round. Um, but then the other one, the big one, I think, is a permanent sign in 6 million. Dykes is out, so we've signed August Priske. I think I'm pronouncing that right, or August Priske, who's a striker from the Swedish league. He's also 21. From Djurgårdens IF in Sweden. I butchered that. I'm really sorry. So he's born in Belgium, but he's been part of the Danish youth setup for a long time. And he scored 18 goals in 27 games last season. A mobile, physical target man. He sounds like exactly what we need, and we've spent big money on him. And there's been a lot of talk about PSR and is are Blues in a tight spot. They're obviously doing what they can with it because they're serious about ambition from here.
It sounds like they're rolling the dice
Yeah,
on promotion, and if you don't, I could see it being a quiet summer,
very
probably.
possibly. We'll have to wait and see. And I'm not saying this is all going hell for leather this season. I would imagine he's on a long contract because it is a big, 6 mil in January is a lot for a championship club. But I'd recommend anyone go check out the Jack
Six
Ward.
million in the championship is still a hefty amount, really.
Absolutely. I would recommend anyone go check out the Jack Ward football podcast as well. He did a really good breakdown on it and described him as a bit of a complete forward or the potential to be a complete forward. Very athletic, likes to get the ball early and shoot early. Doesn't take too many touches. Doesn't take him long to get the ball out of his feet. Aerially, very dominant. Sounds like what we need. Kyogo, Stansfield, and Dutch give us a lot, but they don't give us that. Between them, they don't give us a complete option really, and they don't give us physicality. Dykes actually did, but then Dykes had his limitations as well. So it sounds like a really interesting, exciting signing. And I think he's coming in to start. There's been a lot of hype about him. And yeah, interesting that we're going for a much younger age bracket this window, even if a couple of them are loans. So yeah, Priska, but bit of a surprise to get him in actually. And that yeah feels like a bit of a statement of intent. So it's been a big January. I think there's going to be more. I think we need a centre back, a left-footed centre back, maybe another centre mid. No, probably be okay for a centre mid. But there's been some rumours that Mark Leonard might go out on loan as well because he's not been in any of the squads lately, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, that's Blues. Very eventful few weeks. The next few weeks are going to be very eventful as well. I'll stop talking because I've rambled for ages about Blues, but that's kind of everything I had. Um, so how about you, Cal? Let's get onto the Villa.
Where to start? It's been an interesting January for the Villa boys. Um, December was unbelievable. Unai Emery won Manager of the Month. Um, bar, um, bar the Arsenal game, we were unstoppable. Um, January's been a bit hit and miss, for a variety of reasons. We bounced back after the Arsenal game. Great win at home to Nottingham Forest. Comfortable win. Um, John McGinn scored a brace. I think it's the first Premier League brace. I think it was his first brace for Villa since he scored two goals away at Nottingham Forest in that 10-game winning run when we got promoted. So John McGinn doesn't score a lot these days.
Was that the
So that was quite
5-5? Was that? Oh, obviously, well, no,
No,
sorry, no, winning
no.
run. No, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the 5-5 was that season though. That was the home fixture. Um, and then yeah, then we followed that up with a really dull 0-0 draw with Crystal Palace, but we did not lose. But it's Palace were on a really bad run, so it kind of feels a bit like a loss. And we did have chances to win it. We had chances to definitely lose it as well. Um, Emi Martinez's calf injury is still problematic. He's out of the Fenerbahce game tomorrow night or tonight, depending on when this goes out. Um, that needs to be resolved. If I would be surprised if we were to sell him in this window, but he might need a couple of weeks out the team to sort that injury out because it's no good to anyone him being in and out the team or going off at half time because this injury keeps flaring up, and he's not going to want that ahead of the World Cup either. Um, so that's something that really needs to be resolved. But yeah, we had a 0-0 draw with Palace. Marco Bizot came on at half time. He then played in the FA Cup. Both of us, Dan, we're through to the fourth
Yeah,
round of the FA Cup. We had a interesting tie away at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium where we were extremely comfortable in the first half and extremely uncomfortable in the second half, live on BBC One, but we got through. Um, but we did pick up a really bad injury in that because we went a lot stronger than I thought we were going to go in that game. I was really surprised, and I'm not disappointed that we went strong because I'm glad that we're taking the FA Cup seriously. And as I said a lot last year, I'd love to see us win the FA Cup, and I feel like we do have a bit of unfinished business after how pathetic we were at Wembley last year. Um, but Boubacar Kamara has basically done his ACL 6 minutes into that game, and it's always the risk when in like the third round of the cup, when you're in Europe, you're flying high in the Premier League and you've named a strong side, you're always, I don't know, it always feels like you're tempting fate, you know?
yeah,
Anana had got injured in the Arsenal game. I can't remember if we mentioned that on the season review. So he's out, Barkley's injured, Kamara's out for the season. So that was a hammer blow on a really positive night where we had a good win away at Spurs. Then we had the Everton game. Daniel Marlin's been sold in between the FA Cup game and this one. Um, a bit, I understand the decision to sell him, and I feel like I've been in a minority of really liking the player, but also understanding why he doesn't get a lot of minutes and how he doesn't quite fit the Unai Emery system. He's never quite fitted. He's not an out and out number nine, and Emery has never seen him as disciplined enough to play as the right winger who does a lot of tracking back in the defensive side in the way that John McGinn does when he's out there, in the way that Morgan Rogers or Emi Buendia do on the left-hand side, or while I think he's an absolutely awful footballer, Evan Gesson does his defensive side. Um, so I understand the decision to move him on, bang on a year to when we announced he's joined. The timing is interesting because as it stands, about a week later, we have no replacement yet. Um, and also interesting because he was just a player in good form, and even though he wasn't great, he did a job as an out and out number nine. He seemed like a really useful player to have in the squad, and one of the few players that's pretty much been on good form all season. And the Everton game was an epitome of I don't want to say all going wrong, or I don't want to be too dramatic on it because it's been such a really, really good first half of the season, barring like the first 5 games or whatever it was. But it does feel like things are unraveling, and it seems to be unraveling really quickly in the same way that the start of the season felt like everything was unraveling really quickly, and then it re-raveled really quickly in the other direction. It's been a weird season like that for us. Because the Everton game, John McGinn's got injured. We don't know how bad that is, and my feeling is it's serious, and my feeling is I think he's done. It's unconfirmed. I have not in the know. I think he might have done his ACL, and I wonder if he could be a doubt for the World Cup, let alone coming back this season. There's something doesn't add up. Something doesn't feel right. Um, and if it is a bad injury and a serious injury, his World Cup will be, and I'd be devastated for him if that was the case. Um, also devastated because he's so important, so important. And yeah, and it was a weird night because the weekend, all the results had gone our way. Arsenal had dropped points, City had lost the derby. So even if we'd have drawn at home to Everton, we'd have closed the gap and gone up to second. And it was just a bit, we weren't at it. We weren't at it. We were really poor, very sloppy. The McGinn injury sort of set the tone. That was after about maybe 20. We almost conceded after 11 seconds. Um, we had some decent chances, but it felt like everything started to unravel a bit when McGinn went off injured. Gesson came on. He's only just come back from AFCON and he's been terrible anyway. Um, didn't do much. He was a bit unlucky not to score with a looping header. But basically he offers nothing going forward. There was a point where he was effectively through one on one and he hits the ball and it moves about 3 inches towards the goal. It's a player that is just it's not working out, and I don't think it's going to work out. It doesn't look anywhere near Premier League level, not even close. And then yeah, we had Everton had a goal disallowed. Not entirely sure why. I'd have been furious if it was the other way around. Um, a soft offside in terms of the player that's offside isn't really interfering. I don't think he interferes with play at all. But you get away with one, you take it. Sometimes you get a few. We probably should have had a penalty at Crystal Palace, and so it's kind of swings and roundabouts, I suppose. Um, and then it's just a calamity of errors for Tieno Barry's goal that eventually turns out to be the winner, which is a poor header from Konza. Torres miscontrols it, it bounces off his knee, and then Emi Martinez makes a hash of the initial save, and Barry scores. It's a great the actual finish from Tiana Barry is brilliant. Just dinks it over the goalkeeper. It's a great finish, but the ball should never have ended up in that situation. It was just mistake after mistake after mistake, and it just summed up a night where we couldn't string two passes together. We had shots being blazed over the bar, and it's yeah, a bad night. And we're extremely light in midfield. We tried to get Conor Gallagher, and in the way that we've got to be slightly careful with how we do our structure our deals. Spurs just come and double the amount of money that we were going to buy him for, and you can't compete with that. And a club like Tottenham, they just throw money around without consequence. You've got all the money they spent in the summer. All of those like traditional big six clubs, because they're such big revenue streams, they can just throw money around no consequence. Chelsea and United, we've spoken about it for years. So we're at a really critical part of the season because we're in a fantastic position in Europe. We're going to be in the knockout phase, whether that's the playoff or the top eight. It should be the top eight, but we've still got 2 games to go and a very difficult away game in Turkey tomorrow night. Third in the Premier League, fourth round of the FA Cup. So on the face of it, everything's great, everything's rosy. But on the squad side, we are very, very light, and that needs to be addressed. Whether it can or can't be, we don't know. Leon Bailey's come back. We don't know if he's staying or going. I hope he's staying because we'd rather have him out there than Evan Gesson. He'll at least offer something that just anything. He can actually, at least he looks like a footballer, and we know he can do it at Premier League level and do it at European level. We need another striker with Marlon going. It looks like it could be Tammy Abraham, but that deal is extremely complicated. Do you know the ins and outs of this one, Dan?
Not
It's
really.
bizarre.
I've seen you linked with him, but no, I don't know the details.
So Jose Mourinho, when he was Roma manager, bought Tammy Abraham, had a great first season, got injured, quite a bad injury, was on loan at AC Milan last year, did okay, and has been loaned to Besiktas this year with a loan with, if certain conditions are met, an obligation to buy for Besiktas. Those conditions have been met,
Oh, okay.
but there's this sort of grey area where nobody really knows who owns the player
Right.
anymore. So who are we negotiating with? Is it with Roma because it's technically a loan, or do we have to do a deal with Besiktas because they're about to buy him at, I assume, at the end of the season? So not that it's a deal I'm particularly. It's not quite Rashford and Asensio, if you know what I mean. I have a lot of love for Tammy Abraham because he was brilliant in the promotion season. But I feel like, I don't know,
Mm.
sometimes it, He's
It's
out
not
in
always good. Going
Turkey.
back isn't always. There's a
Yeah,
romanticism to it, but it can work, but it doesn't always.
I think if he was going to come back and it was going to be a big hit, it would have been pretty much after we got promoted, and
Yeah.
maybe even after when Chelsea um, got rid of him. I'm just not. And maybe I'll be proved wrong, and we need someone who can be a backup to Watkins and be a bit different to Watkins, and maybe play up top with him. So maybe it could work. Maybe it could work. The other player that we've been linked with is Jean-Philippe Mateta, and if that deal's to work, it would look like Evan Gesson would go in the other direction. So,
Huh, happy for you, yeah. Yeah, because I've
yep,
seen
do it.
he said today he wants to leave as Palace as well, which it seems like everyone wants. It seems like the kit man wants to leave
Yeah, I
Palace as
mean,
well at the minute.
everything feels like it's unraveling at Crystal Palace. They've had like the worst week of their life.
What is it with like when like a club outside of the big six, when they win something, it just falls apart afterwards. What is it?
Just get cherry picked, don't they? You lose Eze, you lose Gahey.
This feels like self imploded though. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, well, the manager's not happy because they're selling the best players. But for a club like Palace to function, they have to sell the best
yeah,
players. And the way that, I mean, we spoke a lot of PSR from a Villa point of view, but if Crystal Palace, that you've got to you buy young players, maybe a bit unproven or out of form. Like in Ismaila Sarr, for an example, he'd kind of been disregarded after his Watford spell and a really poor spell in France. And he looks a Premier League player again, and they could probably sell him for 30, 40 million if they wanted to. And you get the next one. Brighton do it. Brentford do it. But a manager like Oliver Glasner is very ambitious and is like, can't get his head around why you sell your best players. So
yeah,
Mateta's an interesting one because he's a player that looked a bit just was rubbish in the Premier League, and Glasner's come in and completely changed him, and he's a very competent Premier League striker. Abraham coming in, you'd very much see him as a backup to Watkins. Mateta, all of a sudden, you're looking at competition with Watkins, and we know that Ollie's not great when there's someone that might be taking his shirt, and so I don't really know what the plan is there. So we'll see. We definitely need a midfielder. Definitely need a midfielder because Kamara's out for the season. Or we could be without McGinn for a long time. We don't know yet. Anana's fitness is a bit unreliable. Barkley's fitness is a bit unreliable. We're extremely light in midfield when everyone's fit. You've arguably said we've got one of the best midfields in the league in terms of the different options, and we've been linked with Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
yeah,
Be all right, but again, he's also known for being extremely brittle.
yeah.
So Gallagher would have been a great signing, and he suits our system perfectly. So it's really disappointing that we couldn't get that one over the line. So it's going to be what are we, the 21st of January, 10 days to the end of the window. It's going to be it's going to be belt and braces and see who we can get in. We've still got Harvey Elliott. I mean, crying out loud, can we
Oh
please get
yeah.
rid?
How's that not been
We've
resolved? Yeah.
Yeah, well, Liverpool don't want him back. So,
Right.
and I wonder if there's an element of it as well. We're ahead of Liverpool in the table. Taking him back, a player that they don't want, does it help us out? Yes, it does. If it was the other way around, we wouldn't want to help them out. So I do kind of get it, but just for him, there needs to be some sort of resolution to that.
You'd
He
think on
doesn't
the
even make
Liverpool,
the match day squad anymore, and we've got two
yeah.
goalkeepers on the bench.
You'd think on the Liverpool end, he's only depreciating in value. You'd be better off just getting him out somewhere else. I know it'd have to be abroad, wouldn't it? But
Yeah,
he probably doesn't. I think I read he doesn't want to go to America or something. I'm sure it was him I read that about.
yeah.
Um,
But
that's,
surely there'd be, you'd think there'd be a club. It's only for 6 months just to play some football, and then you can probably look at the Premier League club would probably come sniffing again in the summer. Although maybe it is quite telling. There's two top Premier League managers in Slot and Emery, and neither of them seem to rate him.
yeah.
So um, that can also be quite telling. So, but yeah, and then the defeat to Everton as well. I'm not angry.
Emery
You
was.
lose games. Emery wasn't, and I mean, I feel like he's allowed to be angry because we were terrible.
I think it's
And
because it's so
our imperious
uncharacteristic for
home
him.
form, we've been so good at home. So good at home. We don't lose at home, and to lose in such a really sort of limp way against an Everton side that's also like us, been decimated with injuries. Um, yeah. I mean, Moisey did a job on us, and that's, it is what it is. If, maybe you look at it and go, well, last year they were tuning up and they should have beaten us, and we scored a screamer and won the game. And we had games like this last year. Brighton at home and Palace at home spring to mind, and we drew 2-2 in both of those games, and we kind of got away with maybe losing one of those games. But yeah, it's just a disappointing way for that and that record to go. And it's again with third you've got to have some perspective with third in the league. It's if we finish third in the Premier League, it'd be an unbelievable season. It'd be amazing. But there's also at this point the disappointment's there because there is a real possibility we could end up. Well, we're in a title race, and there's a real possibility this could be a year where we could win the Premier League. But you're not going to get many opportunities to do that. And teams like Arsenal, Manchester City aren't going to give you many opportunities to claw the points back. We're not playing Arsenal again, so those opportunities are gone. So you're relying on results to go your way. The results all went our way, and you'd think at home, 4:30 on the Sunday against an injury-struck Everton, we're kind of flying high. I think everyone rightly would have backed us to get a result, and maybe it's a wake-up call for everyone. But I think that's the disappointment is that this could be the opportunity, and it would be very sort of Villa to just sort of let it slip away.
Yeah, I think it's a potential like sliding doors moment in that sense. Like, where does your season go from here? But I think as well, your point about the title race, and and it's not just because I'm a Blues fan. I certainly don't see you winning the league this year, but I get what you mean. I think from a perspective of, and that Arsenal team is exceptional. Don't get me wrong; they're a great team. If they won a couple of trophies this year, as well as the league, you wouldn't be shocked. I mean, look at them in the Champions League. They're beat Inter Milan 3-1 last night. But this year isn't like it's not like was it like 2019 when like Liverpool and Man City were both like super teams and they just won
Yeah,
every
you
single
needed.
game. This
What
isn't
did
like
Liverpool
that
get?
this
Like
year. Like
96 points and didn't win the league or something.
yeah, yeah, I think it was 98, wasn't it, or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, yeah,
97, something
something like
crazy.
that. Yeah,
Um, this year isn't like that. They are fallible. They can drop points, especially Man City. Man City can't stop dropping
yeah,
points at the minute. Um, so that's like I get what you mean in that sense.
yeah. Because I don't know what the points tallies are at the moment, but you'd imagine somewhere around the 75 to 80 points would probably be enough
Mm.
this year. And yeah, it's a tricky one because do I expect us to win the league? No, but the opportunity being in this position, and granted, we're still only 7 points off the top um, in mid-January, which is incredible in itself. But these opportunities, they don't come around very often. It could be the only time that I ever see Villa have this opportunity. In the same way, you think back 10 years ago when Leicester were in a similar sort of position, although they probably were top at the time, but everyone was still going out, they'll fall off, they'll fall off. Granted, they had no European football, they got knocked out of the cups, but that was probably their only chance, and they took it. So it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because you're looking at fighting on three fronts, but we haven't got the depth really to do that. But you can't also say, oh, we're going all in on the league, forget the FA Cup, we'll rotate in the Europa League, get knocked out of both of those competitions, and the league form falls away. That's a stark reminder of when Martin O'Neill was the manager and he sacked off the UEFA Cup to prioritise finishing in the top four, and so we got knocked out in the midweek and then lost at the weekend or drew two, having been 2-0 up, we drew 2-2 at home to Stoke in the league and we never made the top four. So you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't, I suppose. And you need luck with injuries, and we haven't had that. But every club has got injuries. But not every the two teams we're maybe trying to fight against. Arsenal go to Inter Milan last night. They got a 60 million pound forward that they signed in the summer on the bench. Manchester City have just gone since last January. They've got a new team. They've just gone and spent 60 million on Semenyo, 20 million on Gehi, just to bolster their team. We can't do that. So
Where does it go from here then? Who did you say you've got tomorrow night in the Europa League?
Fenerbahce away.
Okay.
Marco Asensio will play. John Duran was meant to be suspended, but out of nowhere, and 5 days before the game, he's had his ban reduced from 2 games to 1 game. So he's now available. So put your money on John Duran. will probably score on Thursday night. So we'll see. Apparently, Amadou Onana has travelled and trained today in Turkey. So if he is back to fitness and if we can keep him fit for the rest of the season, the Kamara injury is a blow, but it's we can live with one of them being injured, but not both. And Arsenal away pivotally showed that. We can live with one of them being injured, but not both. So we'll see. We'll see what the window brings. If you offered me a draw tomorrow night, I'd take that. I'd have taken that a month ago anyway, because Fenerbahce away, it doesn't sound like it sounds. It's a difficult away game, whether you're good or they're not. So a draw would be a good result, and then we've got Newcastle away on Sunday, which is a ground we never win at. We have not won it there in about 15, 16 years. Could even be longer
Really?
than
That
that.
long?
Yeah, we never win there. But without checking, the last time I actually remember us winning there was when Bowyer and Dyer beat each other up under
Wow.
Souness. I
You also
think we have
six
won
nil one year,
since
didn't you?
then. Yeah, where Andy Carroll scored a hat trick on like the
Yeah.
second game of the season. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't win there. We don't win there. So again, would a point be good? Probably. If you want to win the league, probably not. So it's certainly don't want to lose the game. In the
Got
same
it.
way that
The
you
cup
can
game's at
lose
home though, isn't it?
the cup games at home. Losing to Everton is fine if you go and win away at Newcastle, for example, as opposed to two draws. So
You got a chance to respond this week. The two, especially with Fenerbahce, the chances to set the record straight anyway.
yeah, two positive results, maybe a draw and a win, and then a couple of bodies in, and all of a sudden the picture changes again completely. So yeah, we'll
I
see.
mean, yeah, I know it's different spheres at the minute, but look at us, and we could be back down again in a couple of weeks. It's a week is a very long time in football, as they say.
Although I would be surprised if Kyogo scored on Thursday night, but you never know.
But no, that was no, nothing can
Maybe
happen on
maybe he'll
Thursday
be
night.
the backup to Watkins we need.
No, nothing. He turned down and moved to Celtic apparently, back to Celtic on loan because he wanted to prove himself at Blues. That'd be so funny if Villa came in for him and he turned it down. That'd be hilarious. Um, cool. Okay, well that's Blues and Villa then. Should we have a little chat about
Let's
what's going on
let's have a
elsewhere?
Yeah, because we're not the only team that's had a bit of a difficult January, and you're not the only team that's had a bit of a positive January. So should we do Wolves first because they're well on course now, Dan, to get to the Magic 12,
They are what they are now, eight, seven or eight.
8.
So since
But
we last did
they
one,
picked up 6 points in
since we
like
last did an episode,
yeah,
obviously Mane coming through has been big for them. That 18-year-old who had a brilliant game against who did they beat 3-0? West Ham. They beat West Ham,
West
didn't they?
Ham.
They had a brilliant game. This might just be enough for them, to carry some positivity in with Rob Edwards
Yeah,
into the
definitely.
championship. Because let's not beat around the bush, they're still shit. They're still going to go down. But it's
Yeah.
like and they're going to finish bottom. But like, oh well, they might
Well,
not actually.
I
But
don't know
Burnley are
about
down there.
that. Could you
Um,
imagine though if could you imagine if they managed to get to something like 15 points, 17 points, didn't finish. That's a big stretch because it's doubling their points tally they have at the moment. Didn't finish bottom. You'd all of a sudden go, well, you know what? Bring on, bring on the new season. And because the
yeah,
one thing Rob Edwards can't afford to have is like it looked like it was going for a long time was losing every week, going down on about if they were lucky 6 points, and carrying all that baggage into the new season.
exactly. They've probably done just enough to dodge that. And I know it's been draws, but it's been good draws. They drew Everton, didn't they? 1-1. I know Everton had like 9 men or
Draw at
something
Man
by the end.
United.
Drew Man United, which is oh yeah, yeah, of course. They drew Newcastle at home. I know Newcastle are having a weird season, not underwhelming a bit, I think, but and were maybe distracted by. I think that was it the cup semi-final they had just before
Both cups, yeah.
that. In the
And by
league.
both cups, I mean the Champions League and the League Cup.
Sure,
And I
yeah, of course.
suppose the FA Cup.
Um, and obviously big win. I know it was Shrewsbury in the FA Cup 6-1, but as we were saying with the Cambridge game, and it was something we just won an away game there. I know it was against Cambridge, but it was just something. Uh,
Did they beat Bournemouth? I thought they beat Bournemouth on penalties.
Wolves. Now they beat.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were talking about Newcastle. Sorry.
No, no, no. Sorry, no, 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 no. Wolves. No, no. So no, it mildly it's a ray of sun, a light at the end of the tunnel for Wolves, maybe.
but not to maybe cast some doubt. I remember when we got relegated 10 years ago, we won 3 games in January, including an FA Cup replay against Wickham, and then didn't win again the rest of the season and went down in terrible circumstances. So just because you're having a good January, Wolves, don't get too excited
Yeah,
just yet.
I'm sure they won't be. I honestly, if they finished on 15 points, I honestly think that would be enough for them to have some positivity, and Rob Edwards could maybe have something going for him
Which
next
is
year.
mental because it'd be one of the worst Premier League tallies ever
Yeah,
still.
and it's weird this year because I think I was reading, so West Ham, because they beat Spurs, as terrible as they are, what are they on now? Are they on like 22 points? And I think they're
Something like
only,
that.
I'm sure I read Leicester went down in 18th last season, and they only finished on 25 points. Is that right? No, that can't be right. 25 points to go down. It might well be,
They
you
were
know.
rubbish though. They
Yeah, the
lost a lot of
standard.
games, and so West Ham currently have 17 points, and Forest in 17th have 22.
Oh, okay. But even so, like the standard to actually stay up may be marginally higher this year.
Yeah.
As as sad as that is, that I think that's more of an indictment on how bad everyone was last season and have been the last couple of years. Um, but yeah, they could. I would. It's not inconceivable they'll catch Burnley. I think Burnley are terrible, even though they got a draw at Liverpool the other day. Um, but no, yeah, a glimmer of sunshine for Wolves at least. Let's move on to Coventry.
Because they've not had a great month.
No, but they've just the last few days have been an improvement. They had obviously we beat them. Um, and I'd say deservedly. Yeah, I think we deserved it.
Ipswich got a result there as
Yeah,
well, didn't they? Just
that
was that just before the new year?
it was. Yeah, Stoke knocked them out of the cup 1-0. I know they made a lot of changes, Cov, but I hate that excuse. Like you chose to make changes, that's on you. It's not an excuse.
You're always asking for trouble.
Exactly. But they've had a turnaround the last couple of days. They beat who did they beat the weekend? Was it Leicester that beat 2-1 at the weekend? Came from behind, I'm pretty sure as well. Last night they beat Millwall 2-1 at home. So they picked up 6 points out of six at home this week. So I think they'll be fine. I'm still convinced they'll be top two. I know Borough and Ipswich are getting there.
Ipswich
Hull are
have
having a
started
great
to hunt them
season.
down, haven't they? And Borough play tonight.
Yeah, I think they'll
And Ipswich have a game in hand, I think, as well, off the top of my head.
possibly. Yeah, if I still had to put a name on it, I would still say they'll win the league. But even if they don't, I'm confident they'll get top two. But there's still a long way to go. Still got about 20 games to go. Um, so yeah, no, a bit of a they've had a wobble, but it looks like they're getting back on the horse and beating Millwall and Leicester. I know Leicester are having a weird season, but Millwall are having a good season. To beat them both is big. So that's an improvement.
West Brom, on the other hand.
Yes.
Oh dear.
So we'll have a slightly
Oh
longer
dear.
chat about West Brom. So they lost. They've been
So they've sacked Ryan Mason.
sacked Ryan Mason because they were who was a kind of young up and coming coach. Kind of had been interim for Spurs a couple of times, but it was his first full managerial job. Only
Maybe eyeing up the
34.
Spurs interim job again if that comes available before the end of the season, which it might.
It might well do. I think he must have known Chris Davis as well, Ryan Mason. They might have come through Spurs around the. Well, they must. Yeah, they must have known each other. But yeah, they were bad anyway. They got rid of Ryan Mason in the interim period where they didn't have a manager appointed. They beat Swansea on penalties away to get through in the FA Cup. But they then had a really so who they've appointed. They've appointed Eric Ramsey. I don't know about you, Cal. I had never
From the
heard of this
MLS, and
man.
it screams of Wilfred Nancy in Celtic, doesn't it?
Wilfred who?
Is it Wilfred Nancy or Wilfred? I think it's pronounced. He's French, isn't he? So it's Wilfred Nancy.
Oh, is it okay?
I'm not calling him a nonce, Dan.
Sorry. Sorry, I thought it was Nancy. That's why. Sorry. Anyway. Um, anyway, sorry. Yeah, so they appointed Eric Ramsey. I'm not saying that appointing someone who I've never heard of is a problem because it's obviously not. I'm not an all-knowing expert on football. Just because I've not heard of someone doesn't mean that they're not good or not worth it. Um, a bit of backstory on Eric Ramsey. So he's also only 34. So I found that kind of odd though to go for almost a very similar background of like this kind of in fashion at the minute, going for this sort of young up and coming philosophy manager in inverted commas, a bit like Kieran McKenna or Chris Davis or one of them. Um,
Hmm.
but he was a coach at Man United under Solskjaer, Rangnick, Ten Hag, was involved in the Wales setup for a bit. And he ended up getting a managerial job in the MLS as well with Minnesota United. Did very well with them in the MLS. Did two full seasons there, got them to the playoff semi-finals twice. And I think his second season there was the best finish they'd ever had. Although the club have only existed since 2015, so make of that what you will. But regardless, he can only do what he can do there, and he did very well. What I saw someone else point this out. It's a great point though. He feels to me like a long-term appointment, and that's what Baggies have maybe gone for. But his first two games, they lost 3-2 at home to Borough after they were 2-0 down, pulled it back to 2-2, and then conceded very late on to lose at home.
Wasn't there a crazy own goal by Charlie Taylor as well, if memory
Was there?
serves?
I haven't.
Yeah, or not crazy, but like a farcical own goal by Charlie Taylor.
Fair enough. And then so that's but against Borough, who are a good team. First game, not ideal. But then last night they had an all-timer. They lost 5-0 at home to Norwich, who were below them in the league. I think they started the night in the relegation zone, Norwich.
Probably
And so now that has put them
because they've been terrible.
they've been all yeah, well, yeah, Norwich have been playing catch up all season. So now Norwich are only 1 point behind Baggies. Baggies are now 19th. So you're now in a position, and going back to what I saw someone else point out, Callum Fowler on YouTube said this, and he's absolutely bang on. Baggies have now got themselves in a position with a new young manager who's never managed in England before. He's never managed in a league that has relegation as a concept. And Baggies are very arguably in a relegation battle now. They're on course for their worst finish. I think they finished, I looked into it, I think in 2000 they finished 21st in the championship. Otherwise, they've basically not finished in the bottom half of the championship since. So they're almost certainly on for their worst finish in a quarter of a century, which is remarkable. Their away form is awful. They've lost the last 10 league games away. They've lost 5 of the last 6 games full stop. I saw Charlie Taylor and Nat Phillips in defence were getting an absolute pasting last night. Own goal against Borough probably didn't help a couple of nights earlier. The owner was in attendance. Obviously, they had a takeover last summer. I don't know what he would have made of it all. There was only 21,000 fans there, which for Baggies, who I feel like I've always had good crowds, even through some rough years. They've always had some decent crowds. Um, really, they're up against it now. They're only, I think, 3 points clear of the relegation zone. Dangerous times, very dangerous times, and the league table does not lie. I don't believe in false positions. I hate that. Not hate that phrase. I just don't agree with it. Um, But why ask us? Let's ask someone who was there. So this is friend of the pod, James. I texted him earlier and said, "What happened last night? Can you explain?" And are Baggies actually in a relegation battle? Is this a real thing? Obviously, I was out at the Blues game. I didn't see the Baggies game. Um, so James has been a season ticket holder for as long as I've known him, and these were his thoughts. So let's have a listen and get a sense of it all.
Hi Dan. Just to quick answer your question. I don't know about quick. I think you asked the question: what is happening, and is relegation a real possibility for the Albion? Well, I think there are. You could argue there's some similarities to the season Blues got relegated in, where the new owners I think it was Blues' owners' first full season. The Baggies new owners, it happened to inherit Corberan in their first season. So they got quite lucky with who they inherited. And then they've seemed to can't get out of their own way and making bad decision after bad decision. And then I think the latest one is starting already to look a bit of a disaster. I wasn't necessarily hugely Mason out, but I couldn't really see where we were going. I didn't think we were going anywhere fast with Mason. However, I didn't think we would get relegated. And I still didn't up until last night when reality hit us like a bulldozer, when we looked completely out of sorts. I mean, I've been going the Albion at least 25 years, and that is easily the worst performance I've ever seen. It could just, I don't even know how to describe it in terms of the levels and the team cohesion and shape and what they were being asked to do, can they do it? And, you've got to ask serious questions of the people making the decisions that have brought this new man in, Eric Ramsey. He speaks really well. I'll give him that. There's a 20-minute video on the website when he signed, outlining his philosophy and everything. He speaks really well. However, it's 2 games in, and that's what they've been delivered. Now, I don't care how many days on the training ground you have, you don't lose 5-0 at home to anyone in the Championship. It's not least a team below you in the table, not least a team in the relegation zone this season. It's just, we've got Derby on Friday. We always lose there. The walls are caving in, and do you change again if in a few weeks this isn't going well? I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think, whilst there's a lot of restrictions still on the football club with PSR, they need to pull a rabbit out of the hat in January somehow. I know that this is the end of the 3-year cycle, and in the summer, a lot of those restrictions will be lifted. But you need to get there as a Championship club, and they need to do something, because the squad is wafer thin, and if they're going to do anything about, sticking to Eric Ramsey's philosophy, they need to give him the tools to do his job, because the players last night looked like they didn't have a clue what was going on. We just got picked open and picked apart constantly. It could have been 10. We didn't. I think we had a couple of chances, but there was no, like I said, cohesion or team building or anything. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't think I've got anything else for you, mate. Thank you. See you in a bit.
Brutally honest.
Yes, brutally honest. And he kind of confirms what we're talking about there. This is, and the new managers came in, and I was looking into it. Baggies always seems to play a back 4 this season under Mason. The new managers come in, and he seems to prefer a back 5. They against Borough, it was almost like a flat back 5, and it seemed like last night became more with wing backs, but it's still a back 5. So we had a back 5, but then Bielik in midfield, who is also kind of, for Blues, he was mainly a defender. So it feels very defensive, but they're leaking goals like crazy, like there's no tomorrow. As James mentioned, they got Derby away on Friday night, so it's a quick
It's never a good
turnaround.
look if you play a back 5 and let 5 goals in at home, is
No,
it?
it's not a good look letting 5 in full stop. But yeah, Derby away on Friday night, so they haven't got a big turnaround. They haven't got much time to work it out on the training ground at all, really, or even get it out of their heads. And Derby away, John Eustace's Derby, who were 10th, having a good season. Phew.
And he'd want to get one over on the Baggies when they've been former Villa and Blues.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's not former Villa, is he? But
Well, okay, a Villa fan
he's
and
not.
managed Blues.
He's not a Villa fan. Anyway, who knows? Anyway, and the gutting thing is, Baggies have got to play Norwich again in the cup, 4th round away. So bless them.
Maybe that's the perfect fixture for them, though.
Yeah, it's the
And
kind of
not
when
if they
you're
lose
still
5-0
winning
again,
1-0.
but it's almost like right the wrongs in the cup.
Yeah, like do you remember when Southampton played Leicester the first time after they lost 9-0 and they went and beat them like 2-1 away or something. So yeah, dark times for West Brom. But thanks to James for the information there, and we'll keep tabs on it as the season progresses. And I think, is that us for this week, Kel?
I think that is us for this week. It's been another, but I like it. We're a bit sporadic, but the nice bumper episodes for you to really get your teeth into.
Got a lot to talk about, is the thing. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, and it's looking big seasons or
Yeah,
era defining seasons for all the Midlands clubs at the moment. So it's a massive season for all of us.
absolutely. Yeah, very, very important times. But on that note, we'll be back shortly. We'll definitely do something as the window's closing or just after it closes or something around that period to kind of react to everything because I think there's definitely going to be some storylines there. But until then, Cal, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you guys so much for joining us. Until then, keep right on.
Pleasure as always, Dan. We'll catch you on the next one, and up the Villa.